From Craven Park to Wembley Way, with East-Hull grip we fight. Now we rise, our heads held high, proudly wearing the red and white.
The Robin Pod is powered by Budget Tyres Auto Centre. Make them your first and only choice for a vast array of vehicle services. They are a reputable East-Hull-based car specialist and dedicated to providing quality services at reasonable prices. And don't forget, they are trusted by the players, club officials and supporters of Hull Kingston Rovers. Find them at 146 Leeds Road and ask them about the exclusive discount they offer Hull KR Rovers Forever members. Welcome back to the Robin Pod. On this week's episode, we dive into a very busy few weeks down at Sewell Group Craven Park, and there's been no shortage of headlines, which of course we'll be going through during this Robin Pod special. We'll be talking about the departures of former assistant head coach Danny Ward, who's headed back down south to the London Broncos, and the arrival of his replacement, former Huddersfield Giants head coach Ian Watson, who steps into the red and white setup with big shoes to fill. We'll be discussing the big transfer news too, with Jack Charles putting pen to paper on a 4-year deal after crossing the river from Hull FC. And on the forward front, it's out with Eribe Doro, who moves to the Bradford Bulls. And in comes the powerful Frenchman, Jordan Dezaria, from Catalan Dragons, as the pack once again evolves. Plus, the Ashes series has delivered plenty of talking points. We'll talk about 𝗀𝗂𝗋𝗄𝗏 leading Australia as they take on an insurmountable 2-0 lead against England, with Michael Lewis and both 𝗀𝗃𝗍𝗏 Lytton featuring. And of course, just a small matter of the World Club Challenge. Yet, Michael Maguire's Brisbane Broncos are heading to Hull to take on the Robins under the lights. It's going to be one of the biggest nights that the city of Hull has ever hosted. We'll wrap it up by answering all your questions during question time, so make sure you stick around. And don't forget, if you're tuning in on YouTube, to like and hit the subscribe button. So let's get into it and welcome 𝗲𝗲 Kingston back to the Robin Pod. 𝗲𝗲, how are you doing?
Yeah, very good, mate. Thank you. Thank you for having me back on, Jono. And when you're subscribers, like and subscribe, whatever, don't know if you've got the option on YouTube, mate, but get them to hype it up a bit so it goes a little bit further. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely hit that hype button. And I was panicking. Literally, as I was reading this, as we record this, it's bonfire night, and my next door neighbour has literally just let off. Well, I didn't realise my next door neighbour was called Guy Fawkes because he's literally lit the street up.
So, you should be where
as I was trying to read that, yeah,
I feel like I'm
was breaking loose.
I feel like I'm parked in the middle of Afghan, mate. The way these are going off around me.
Yeah, well, to be fair, mate, as well, I had to show a little bit of care. I had to bring my rabbit inside. I've been stroking my rabbit prior to the Robin Pod just to show a bit of love, because you know these little animals, they don't like the big bangs, do they? I tell you what, let's talk about fireworks. Let's talk about the grand final. Let's talk about the treble winning season for the Robins. 𝗲𝗲, are you back down to earth yet? Are you still on cloud nine?
It still feels surreal, you know what I mean? Now and again, I might see someone referring to Hull KR as treble winners, and it's like, oh wow. I think when it really will hit home is when the new season starts and we're known as the treble winners, the Super League champions. That's when it'll hit home, and I dare say there'll be a big thing about it when we go to Vegas as champions, and I think that's when it really, really will sink in, mate. And to be honest with you, it was only a couple of weeks ago I watched the game back again, so can't get enough of it.
Well, that's the thing, 𝗲𝗲, innit? You just can't get enough of it. You know, I think, of course, it's it's not the down season because we've still got the England Australia Ashes series going on. We've still got games going on down under, which we're going to talk about later on in the Robin Pod. But it's a moment to savour, isn't it? It's literally, you don't want to let go of it because, I keep saying to myself, I may never see this again. My kids may never see this. You may never see this again. 𝗲𝗲, the people watching, listening to this, may never see it again. I was lucky enough to go to Beverley Minster on Saturday to see the trophies, all three of them together. The club have done a fantastic job of making sure that these trophies are accessible to as many people as possible. They've been at the Humber Bridge, they've been at Hull City Hall, lots of places. Great opportunity to have pictures. Great opportunity to savour the moment of just being in the presence of the trophies that for so long seemed so far away from us, and to be there, to be in touching distance, to have your pictures taken with them, and to know as well that we've earned it. It's an incredible moment, and I don't want to let it go because it just feels such a moment to savour.
Yeah, you're not wrong there. Like, I managed to go see him when they was at the rugby store, but unfortunately there was only two of them there because the league leaders had been damaged the day before or something like that, been knocked off the stand. But even just seeing that Challenge Cup up close, it's quite breathtaking. It's a beautiful trophy, and that not League Leaders Shield, the Super League trophy. Our boys have gone through blood, sweat, and tears to get them, and to give us the privilege of seeing them up close, getting our photos with them. It is a surreal thing, and you're right. We may never see the treble being done again. I think it'll be difficult for any team now to do the treble the way the standard of rugby league over here is improving. I think there's that many good teams now going to be competing. I think it will be. I don't think we'll see the treble done again in the next 10, 15 years. I can't see it. Not the way teams are around chasing us and the way it's improving. So it's one of them, just soak it up, take it in, and really, really cling on to this moment, mate, because I'm sure yourself, same as me, mate, will be dining out on this for years to come.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about the off-field setup at the Robins at the moment, and what a great amount of work they're doing, and how the people behind the scenes have propelled the club forward. What's really pleasing to hear, and what you feel, is that this isn't enough. They want to keep going. They want to keep driving forward. I think Neil Hudgell has alluded to that in the interviews that he's given so far, that actually winning one was a target. Once I won one trophy, it was about winning more. And now it's not about just winning a couple of trophies or a treble. It's about now sustaining that over 4-5 years and creating a real dynasty and creating a legacy. And that's exciting for me, because that's a side that's not resting on the laurels, and that's a club who are showing real ambition. And that's why, as much as we need to save this moment, I do really think as well, Bazza, there's a lot more to come, and that's really exciting for me.
Well, it is, and I heard from an incredibly good source.
HP.
I can't say. There was the boys had a little meeting by all accounts before they went their separate ways in the off season, and by all accounts, Willie's last words was, "How do we improve on this season going into next season? Just give the boys something to think about when they went away in the off season." So that just shows the determination. And you're right, we are looking to maintain and get better. But the problem with that is it's going to be difficult, because we now have the target on our back, and we thought this year was incredibly difficult. I think next year it's going to go up a notch or so, because everybody's going to be gunning for us to knock us off the pitch. But not only that, we're going to have the teams like Wakefield and Leigh who want to follow our blueprint and who will really believe they can go for it just like we did. So we are going to have a target on our back, but I think we've got the right people within the club who know what standards need to be met for us to maintain that. And you say take us to the next level. What is the next level? Well, the owners, Willie, the staff, they know there is another level to go to. So again, it's exciting times, but like I say, I right now, I'm happy. I'm trying not to think about next year and what'll happen. I know it's going to be a really, really tough year. We've got a massive, massive roster. We do have the privilege of having Willie Peters in charge, though, who's got probably one of the best rugby brains, in the game. So he'll know how to cope and manage the squad, and he'll be there when things don't go quite our way. So it's a really, really exciting year for us next year, and I genuinely can't wait. But at the same time, I just want to carry on enjoying this moment.
Yeah, Bazza, and you're totally right. And before we talk more about next season, what's to come, and the changes that are going on, Mark Newman he's done it. So everyone who likes, I've had loads of messages about this. The new intro song for the Robin Pod, fantastic work. He sent me another one, and for anyone who still wants to be in the moment and is still thriving on the treble winning season that we're currently enjoying, I tell you what, this is a great little number, and it's something that we can all enjoy.
We rule the league in red and white. We do believe a grand final win. Now all you Robins cheer. Let's celebrate Rovers greatest. Throughout the years, whatever the game, the Red Army's passion is always the same. Decades past, now we rise anew. Rovers fans, this song is for you. Through every loss, through every cheer, it led us to our golden year. We beat the Wire in Wembley rain. Tom Davies try helped ease the pain. We topped the league, we would not fall. The mighty Robins above them all. An Old Trafford clash with Wigan's might. We burned the sky with red that night. 24-6, the game was done. History made the treble won. 40 years of hopes and tears washed away by treble winning cheers. We won the cup, we ruled the league in red and white. We do believe a grand final win to complete the three. Greatest year in Rovers history. Celebrate the moment, honor the past. Far off dreams become memories that last. So now we build, the future's bright, for the treble winning legends in the red and white. We won the cup, we ruled the league in red and white. We do believe a grand final win. Trophies, 1, 2, 3, covered in red and white for all to see. Greatest year, Rovers' greatest year. Rovers' greatest year. Greatest year. Rovers' greatest year.
I tell you what, Baz, it hits the note, doesn't it? I tell you what, when you listen to that and you hear the words, you hear the tune, and then you sit back and go, yeah, what a season it's been. And I think, what a great effort by Mark Newman. You can get the video on YouTube if you check him out. His handle is SharkyMark92. You can get the video, listen to it there. But what an effort that is.
Man, that was incredible. It really takes you back to them special moments in them games, you know, Wembley. It takes you back to Old Trafford. Just it makes you think about the season, mate. You can't pick it up on camera, mate, but I'm covered in goosebumps listening to that. That was incredible. I loved it.
Yeah, it was great. It was really good, and I know Matt was really proud of that, and he's the one who supplied the new intro to the Robin Pod, so I appreciate that. And maybe later on we might play out the Robin Pod to that, because it's a great tune. I tell you what, let's look at some of the changes that have happened after the grand final victory. The big news, Bazza, is the fact that Danny Ward, assistant coach, has left, and he's been replaced by Ian Watson. Now, if people have had the opportunity, Danny Ward's just recorded a podcast with the Inside Shoulder podcast, and it's a real fascinating insight into not just Danny Ward and his approach to his work and what he does, but what that season and his time at Hull Kingston Rovers what that entailed. It's fascinating, some of the insight that it gives. I really recommend that you go out and listen and view it, because it gives a great insight. It's called the Inside Shoulder Podcast. It's the first one of the series that they're doing. Danny Ward's on it, and like I said, Bazza, great insight into the season, particularly this season, about the changes they made, and the detail that they go into, and also what they do around making the players feel happy, and the environment they create is real fascinating insight.
It was, mate. I loved it, and I'll tell you one good thing about it for any young aspiring coaches coming up. Have a listen. You know, you'll definitely be able to take some tips to take away to your side. Us as fans, we don't see what goes on behind closed doors. We hear whispers. We take snippets out of like Willie Peters' interviews, but the depth Danny went to of what's required, and it's something as simple as the players making the bed when they get up in the morning, setting standards, and it works. And we've seen that this year. I could talk about it for the next hour, but for the next hour, you don't want to be listening to me. You go listen to the podcast, because it really is an eye opener, and it's an eye opener to see how far our clubs come, because they did kind of touch on pre Willie Peters era, where the club went in a great place and how the standards have risen, but it's not only risen for the players, it's risen for the coaches.
Yeah, and what became really apparent to me when I think Danny Ward, he was questioned about culture, or Danny Ward mentioned about what does culture mean. What came really apparent was about it's not the things that you say you're going to do; it's the stuff that you do when nobody's looking. So if you really want to create a culture, and you want people to believe in things, and you want people to ultimately showcase and display the things that you want them to do, it's the things that they do when nobody's looking. So it's all the stuff off the field. It's all the stuff that nobody knows that they're doing, but that carries itself into then training on the pitch. And then that was what was really interesting. Also, there's a couple of there's a stat that Danny Ward mentioned in it, and what basically the Robins had done is worked out that if they can run or accumulate 1,700 meters running during a game, and they can only concede 1,500 meters defending, more they'll win the game on average, because that's what the stats show them. And that's what you sometimes forget, is we just watch the game for 80 minutes and go, well, why is he not running this? Why is he not passing that? But the level of detail and scrutiny that they go into off the field is so infinite, and that's why this podcast was really interesting, because you got an insight in just to how much detail they do go into.
Well, it wasn't only that; it was even the full contact in training. You know, the techniques, they weren't holding back. And what I did find fascinating is how they push the players. You know, they can make a good player a great player, and testing them when they're gassed to maintain that line speed from minute 1 to minute 80, and the practice over and over again. And when they do like previews of an up and coming opponent, they'll try and practice their shapes. Do you know what they're going to get thrown at them? It was an incredible podcast. It was a really, really good insight. But to be fair, I've not heard a bad one yet from Danny Ward, because he's done a few with Jenna Brooks. He's a good, honest bloke, really is.
Yeah, and of course his main role was defence, wasn't it? I mean, he was brought in 2024. You can see how popular he was amongst the playing staff. The way he conducted himself, and of course, former Robin player. You know, he was there in 2007. But you can understand why he's departed. He's gone back to London Broncos to be their assistant. He's going to be with Jason Demetrio. He's left. He's come up to East Hall. He's left his family down south. He's won the treble, and I think he's then decided, look, I've got an offer here. I can go back to be with my family. You know, sometimes you just, it is what it is, isn't it? You know, you can't go against what he's done, because he's come, he's delivered, and he's got a family, and he's going to go back and still stay in rugby league. And as much as we're sad to see him go, that this Robin side keeps evolving.
Well, yeah, they kind of don't stand still. Again, nothing but best wishes and massive gratitude towards Danny Ward, because I'll be the first to admit when we got rid of Danny Maggs and we brought Danny Ward in, I was kind of on the fence because we love Danny Maggs, and we was all wondering how Danny Ward would improve outside, but you can see how the difference, the toughness in defence, and he's one of the boys. It is going to be a massive loss. But one thing about our club is if an opportunity comes, what's right for the person and the person's family, they'll never stand in the way. And that's what I love about our club. It's family comes first, rugby comes second. And it just shows a bit of respect back to Danny, for me, in my eyes. We could have tried to keep hold of him because I believe he was still under contract, but we didn't want to stand in his way and deprive him of time with his family and an opportunity with the Broncos. So credit to the club for doing that as well. Massive credit to the club for, letting him go on his terms, not on bad terms. And we don't see enough of that in our game, unfortunately.
No, and what's really interesting though is is the replacement, Ian Watson. Signed on a 2-year deal. His last role was with the Seattle Seawolves in rugby union in America. Of course, he's been with Salford and Huddersfield as head coach. He led Salford to a grand final and Challenge Cup final. He led Huddersfield to a Challenge Cup final. He's coming in as a direct replacement for him. It was referenced when we announced that Ian Watson was coming in as assistant coach, that he'd be taking over the defensive duties. I've got no doubt that's what he'll have been doing probably with Seattle in rugby union in America. Interesting appointment. He's someone who's got vast experience. Willie Peters referenced the fact that he was a coaching geek, and he just loves coaching. He's an interesting one, isn't he? Because he's not maybe the most charismatic person, but who cares if he's the one who's been deemed to come in and do a job? I think we've just got put full trust in Ian Watson, haven't we? And Willie Peters' decision or the club's decision to bring him in.
Well, yeah, that's it. No matter who comes into our club, whether it's a player or staff, we'll get behind him no matter what. Again, I was another one, a little bit on the fence about Ian Watson, for my own personal reasons. But from what I know about the guy, he loves his stats. He's very, very keen on his stats, his numbers, wanting to improve them. He likes to have set plays in training. I've had a couple of comments saying it's a massive mistake, because of what happened at Huddersfield. But I've also had comments saying it could be an absolute masterstroke because they reckon he'd make a better assistant than a head. But you can't forget that he's took Salford to grand finals and whatnot. So for me, I'm on the fence, but I was on the fence when we got Danny Ward in and we let Mags go. So I just need to get used to things a bit, and I love nothing more to get proved wrong. And the club really have done a lot wrong in the last 3 years with recruitment. And all I can do, mate, I think, hope for better times. And I suppose it's fresh ideas for Willie as well, which maybe could be needed going into 26. Because if we need to change our game a little bit, as I said earlier, we're going to have a target on our back. Fresh ideas might really stand us in good stead in 2026. So yeah, it's good news that they've got some experience coming in.
Yeah, and for me, Bazza, what's really pleasing is you're bringing in somebody who's vastly experienced in various roles in rugby league. Taking on head coach roles, a big job. The fact he's coming in as an assistant, similar to Danny Ward, who don't forget as well, when Danny Ward came in, he could have had a head coach role at a Super League side, Castleford, I think it was at the time. He turned it down. Danny Maggs then took on that job. Ian Watson's coming in as an assistant, but he just adds a wealth of experience to that side. And Dave Hodgson, what a fantastic. He goes under the radar so much, doesn't he, about what he does. He's been at the club for so long. You can tell how much he's loved by the players and the people he works with. Sean Kenny-Dowell, he's still in that transitional phase. I think he's still not quite ready to step up to that full assistant coach role. So I do think it was really important that the club brought in someone who was really experienced. It's really important as well that he comes in and he's got a specific role, which is the defensive side of the game. And look, we've just got to trust that the transition will be seamless. And next season, if we concede a try, no one's pointing fingers, going, "Oh, that's because we haven't got Danny Ward anymore." It could be for a multitude of reasons. So you just got to trust the process.
If you remember rightly, there was a little bit of a meltdown when we lost Brett Delaney because he was defence coach as well.
Yeah, the frog.
But yet people didn't realise what work Danny Ward did for us with the defensive side of things. And for me personally, I personally felt we excelled when Brett Delaney departed the club, and that's now on Brett Delaney. But I really did feel like we excelled. So yeah, it's only good things. What I do find intriguing is Ian Watson turned down the job at them lot over the river as an head coach, but is happy to come to us as an assistant. So we must be an attractive prospect, mate. That's all I can say on that.
Well, mate, he'd have probably took on a job as steward to come to us. You know what I mean? It's so attractive to work for the Robins at the moment, isn't it? Brad's not queuing up. Look, let's look at the playing side now. Eribe Doro's departed, which is an interesting one, isn't it? Of course, we signed him on the back of him becoming the Championship Player of the Season. Great expectations about what he may become as a player. He made 9 appearances last season. He's signed for the Bradford Bulls, which is, of course, a side that's been newly promoted to Super League, and, of course, he's their former player. What do you make of that Doro departure? Because he made 9 appearances. He looked very raw, I think, Bazza. He looked like, there was a lot of potential there, and he was sort of a swashbuckling type of prop where he'd sort of bang into everyone. But at the same point, he did come up with a few errors in them 9 appearances, which did, conceding penalties, knock-ons, I've seen a lot of Rover supporters sad to see him go. Are you one of them?
Yeah, I was like a lot of Rovers fans. I was quite perplexed when that happened because there was no sign of it happening. I am gutted because he's 24 now and he's a prop. So he's in the next couple of years, if he develops right and gets the right nurturing, it could be one of the game's greats. He's definitely got that potential about him. So I am a little bit gutted. It was the buzz of the East Stand whenever Doro got the ball. Because he can skittle a man or two, and I was surprised, but it goes back to the club again, where I've got massive respect for the club because it come through Warrington. Bradford gave him his opportunity when Warrington thought, you're not going to make it as a player. So really, his first love's kind of Bradford, and if his playing time's going to be limited at our place next year, and he's going to be a regular for Bradford in Super League, which is like his first club, I think for me it's a no-brainer, and that's credit to the club for not standing in his way and holding back his progression. So, fair play. I'm gutted, but if Eribe wanted to leave for more regular game time at Bradford, then there's no complaints from me. I just hope he goes easy on us next year.
Well, I was going to say about it as well, with the expanded Super League to 14 teams, what it's done is now create a vacuum where the promoted sides, Bradford, York and Toulouse, are now having to desperately fill their squad with players. So actually the fringe players of Hulkington Rovers, Wigan Warriors are now in demand because, they might be on the fringes of them teams, but actually they'll become a first team player at Bradford and Toulouse. And so you can see the draw and the appeal. If an offer's made for them to go, you could be a reserve team player up there, or you could be a first team player down here with us. And I think that's what's happened with Doro.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's a bit of smart business by 𝗀𝗂𝗏 if what I'm reading is right. If it comes into play that any of the clubs helps out, you know, that any of the newly promoted teams with players to get a bit of special dispensation in the salary cap. So if that comes off, then it's a smart bit of business by 𝗀𝗂𝗏 for me as well.
I think maybe Eribe Doro was leaving was a surprise, Bazza. I think what was maybe a bit of a bigger surprise was the fact that we then signed Dezaria from Catalan Dragons on a 3-year deal, because that was left field, wasn't it? Nobody expected that one, and then and then you read the announcement of when it was announced that Dezaria had signed. 𝗁𝗏𝗧 said he's always had his eye on him. He's always been a big game player when he's played against the Robins, and he's really impressed him. 28 years old, 6'2". I mean, he's a big, bulky forward. I think maybe the signing hasn't surprised me in terms of how we've, you know, look at Leon Ruin, for example, and we've brought in players like that. It was a 3-year deal that surprised me the most, the length of the contract. And I do think that maybe they see a player in there, they see of someone who's going to come in and actually will be a first team player. I remember when we signed 𝗀𝗻𝗄𝗏, and people were saying, "Wow, we signed him." Sam Luckley, another one. You know, people expected Sam Luckley to be the reserve grade player, but they got under the tutelage of Willie Peters and the rest of the coaching staff. Look at them now. You know, look at how they're thriving. And Dezaria, he could be in that mold because he's old enough now. He's 28 years old, so you know he's not a prospect, is he? He's got to be delivering over these 3 years that he's at the Robins.
Well, yeah, he's 28 now, so as a prop, he's coming into his prime. And I know every time Jordan Dezaria has come up against us, it's been an handful. I go back to 2023, we couldn't handle him in Perpignan. So I was surprised. I didn't see it coming. But again, it's smart business. You know, he's not a quarter. He's not going to be a massive paid player, and it kind of helps the likes of 𝗀𝗏𝗏𝗏 to have a fellow Frenchman, you know, in his side. So
we've done great business with Catalan over the last few years, haven't we?
Yeah, we have. And I think it's a smart move. He's fast, he's mobile, and he's got an offload game like Sam Luckley. You know, Sam Luckley is just a big go-forward guy. Jordan Dezaria is very much the same, but he's got good footwork on him as well. So where he's going to fit in, I don't know, because he's going to have big boots to fill. But you need to remember we've got the likes of Tom Amon coming in. You know, a lot of people seem to have forgot about that. So I think we are going to have a pretty healthy pack next year, and I'd sooner buy half decent players what you know are going to do a job and can get better, and have a few more of them than spend a whole load of money on one player who we don't know what we're going to get, because it's going to be a long season next season, and we're going to need to utilise as many players as we can, because them props, they're going to be doing some massive minutes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm rubbish at maths, but if you imagine Jadwar-Hargreaves coming off the salary cap with the arrival of Tom Amon and Jordan Dezaria, you know, you've almost got two players in one in that respect. So, you know, yeah, really interested to see what our forward pack will look like. And talking of Catalan Dragons, there's a player who's departed the Robins, PLT, Phoenix Lohai, who's made his debut in 2022. He made 9 appearances. He's been at Oldham for the last couple of years on loan. He's gone to Catalan, and that was a surprising one, Bazza, because obviously he was deemed surplus to requirements at the Robins. I think he was former Young Player of the Year. His size is always going against him, isn't it? Because he's there's no doubt he's got talent. He's got when he's got ball in hand and he's got the running threat. He makes things happen. It hasn't really quite happened for him at the Robins. You know, there's been players in front of him. That's ultimately why it's not happened. Seemed to go to Catalan was made my eyes, you know, sort of, you know, it stood out to me to go. That was an interesting one.
Yeah, I didn't expect that one. I kind of expected him to leave, but I kind of expected him to stay Oldham working under Sean Long, because it looked like he was really progressing nicely there. And, you know, I always felt there is a player there, but for some reason, we just couldn't seem to unlock it. He's had enough pre-season with us now to really try and force his way into the side, especially when we've had injuries, but he just hasn't managed it. I half expected him to stay with Oldham, so what Catalan's seen him, I don't know, but they've given him a year, so he's got a year to prove himself, and hopefully he takes his opportunity with both hands, because he's a good lad and he's a young lad. I can't see him getting in front of 𝗪𝗲𝗄𝗃 if they're going to play him at fullback, but I suppose again for Catalan it's not a lot of money on the cap. It'll be a nice life experience for PLT, and hopefully he'll get some game time from and really kickstart his career.
Yeah, I mean, the big news as well is 𝗪𝗂𝗏 coming over from that lot. You know, another black and white coming over to the bright side of the city. Of course, son of Chris Charles. You know, people of yesteryear will remember his contribution to the Robins. 19 years old. He's played for England Academy a couple of times. Signed a 4-year deal. What I really enjoy and what I'm really excited about with this signing is that there's almost a plan. You know, he's not coming in to challenge Mikey Lewis and Tyrone May right now. Let's be honest, that is not, you know, next season. Don't be expecting 𝗪𝗪𝗏 to be pushed. But what he's been brought in to do is come under the coaching staff, see what Mikey Lewis and Tyrone May do, with a view to, bearing in mind he's only 19 years old, with a view to you will be a first team player in 2-3 years' time. So I think it's a real smart move. His family's red and white through and through. There's no doubt about that whatsoever. I really enjoyed, if you remember the derby a couple of years ago when he came on, and he really turned the game round for them. We've seen glimpses of it's really, you know, it's really funny as well, Bazza. He's suddenly become a really shit player since he signed for Rovers. So if you remember at one time he was heralded as you know, the future of a certain side who are across the river. And then as soon as he signed for Rovers, well, actually, he wasn't that good. He wasn't that important. Other players have gone ahead of him. It's really interesting how that happens, isn't it? But I'm really pleased to see him at the Robins, and I'm really excited to see what the future holds for him.
Oh, mate, I can't wait to see him. And I think we're going to get to see him quicker than people think, especially with our roster this year. He is a really... I was impressed with him at LFC, seeing him in 2023. He's a cracking little player. He just got thrown in the deep end too soon across there. But yeah, you're right. The irony is that apparently he's rubbish now. The Kent boys are the future, but you know, before the Kent boys, 𝗪𝗪𝗏 was the future. Mikey Lewis was nothing. They're very fickle at times. As far as I'm concerned, if he's with 𝗀𝗂𝗏𝗏 and he wants to be at 𝗀𝗂𝗏𝗏, then you know we will put every effort into making him be the best he can possibly be. And I think
Yeah, and I was going to say, Baz, as well. I think you mentioned on the last Robin pod, or one of the last couple that we did, actually, the way the end of season's going, so you look at Mikey Lewis, 𝗪𝗪𝗏𝗏, they're going to need potentially an extended rest because they're going to finish their season much later than they ever have done. There might be an opportunity at the start of the season where actually we might see 𝗪𝗪𝗏𝗏𝗏 more, because Mikey Lewis and 𝗪𝗪𝗏𝗏, you can't expect them to go again and go again. Do you know what I mean? On the back of an Ashes series, Las Vegas, World Club Challenge, a shorter potential pre-season.
Yeah, and that's why I think I said last time, I don't think we're going to see some of these players that we're not expecting to see. And again, I genuinely feel with that pre-season under Willie, basically showing them the standards what are set within our group, they need to reach them standards to you know, force themselves into the first team to be trusted, you know, to play for us.
𝗀𝗂𝗏𝗏𝗏, he's another one.
Exactly. Another one under the radar. Declan Murphy. I think I called him Declan Rice last time. We got a bit of grief, but yeah, Declan Murphy. he's a one or a nano. He can play in the half. So 𝗂𝗂𝗋𝗲, I can't wait to see 𝗂𝗂𝗋𝗲 to take his opportunity next year. Once he's had that pre-season with us, I mean, he come halfway through and he's already really impressed us and not really let anybody down. So that's what I am excited about next season. Like, we do have a very, very busy roster, but I don't think we're going to get through the season using the least amount of players again with, what was it, 25? I think we're going to be pushing close to 30 next year, but we're going to see some proper young talent on show, and that is absolutely no disrespect to the likes of Mikey and whatnot, but it just varies things as well. So yeah, it's great. I can't wait to see Jack Charles. I really can't.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't even mentioned Tom Whitehead from Warrington, who's still not been announced. Junior Sambu from Oldham. I think the Connor Wynn one, that's gone off the boil if all reports are to be believed, apart about him signing a deal for the Robins and then being paid off, not to bring in other players. So
Not sure.
yeah, we'll see what happens until it's officially announced. But yeah, it's going to be. I think next season, Bazza, is going to be a little bit different to what we've maybe become accustomed to or expected next season, maybe. But again, it's that full trust in Willie Peters and what they're doing, isn't it? And like we said, Jack Charles, welcome home. Great to see him back in the east side of Hull where he belongs. Just like many of the players who've signed from that lot. So he's another one who I'm looking forward to seeing, particularly in them. If we get them in the early rounds and the Jack Charles players, and yeah, that's one to look forward to. Great news, Bazza. The club announced 10,000 season tickets sold. Incredible, really, isn't it? 10,000 season tickets. There's no more left. That's it. If you haven't got a season ticket, you haven't got one. The club said they're going to release 300 tickets for match days for people who obviously are able to commit to a full season ticket. Many people, maybe Bazza, are questioning whether we need to get that temporary south standing more permanently to extend the opportunity for people to come, because there's no doubt that there's demand there, and lots of people want to be watching the Rovers at the moment.
Well, I heard earlier, apparently there's still a massive waiting list.
They've released the waiting list, Bazza, for 2027.
Have they really?
2027.
I can't quite understand why they didn't leave that temporary south stand up. They could put a temporary roof on, like the east stand. Granted, it don't look pretty on TV, but it's getting people in, it's getting people through the gates, it's getting people enjoying the experience, and it's a financial benefit, mate. But 10,000, I think that's slightly more than last year, because I was talking to Pete Barley earlier, and he said I think last year they only sold 9,600 or 9,800 season tickets and left the rest, for general sale. So they've upped that and obviously reduced the tickets for general sale. It's the fear factor. People fear missing out, and they don't want to miss out. And while the club's in this spot that it's in, I do think there's a slight missed opportunity. We're not banging that south standing. I really, really genuinely believe that. Whether it's politics or whatever, rules, regs, stewards, I don't know why they can't have it in all the time. I don't think the club really do need. The next phase for the club is to look at how to develop the stadium to keep everyone happy, because it's in demand, and it's in demand massively. I think by all accounts, by 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock yesterday, I think there was only 4 season tickets left that could be purchased, and there was all scattered. In the I think there was 3 in the west, 1 in the east, something like that. The seating. So the sold literally within an hour and a half. It's mental, and long may it continue. But we're doing our bit. The club are going to eventually have to do their bit by extending, because we've got sustainable ticket sales now where they can justify extending the stadium. And yeah, we can't have another year like this after 26. If the success carries on coming, fans are still are still going to try and get through the gate. They're gonna have to increase the capacity one way or another.
Yeah, it's a great problem to have. as is the World Club Challenge, and what a great problem that is to have in terms of where to play games. Now, if people listening to this are already aware, there's been a major leak of information today as we record this. So we all know that Brisbane versus Hull Kingston Rovers is going to be the World Club Challenge. It was confirmed actually by the Australian media earlier this morning or their night as we record this, that the game's taking place. Of course, there's still been no official announcement by either Brisbane or Hull Kingston Rovers or the NRL or Super League. But if the Aussie media announcing it's happening, you're pretty much 99% it's happening. What was really interesting though is that England Rugby League, the official England Rugby League X account, posted a message on social media today, and it was about their new poppy shirt that they're going to wear on Saturday when they take on Australia. So this one-off poppy shirt, which is an absolutely fantastic shirt, by the way. I'd urge you to go purchase it. What England were doing is urging you to go purchase it as well, and they produced a link on their X post. Now that link wasn't a link to go buy the shirt; it was a link to a Dropbox. So people who don't know what a Dropbox is, it's a cloud-based file sharing website where you can post multiple documents, images, and then you can download them. So England Rugby League posted a link to Hull Kingston Rovers Dropbox, which just so happened to include the World Club Challenge promo social media assets. So people then obviously got hold of them images, and the images say that the game's taking place on Thursday, the 19th of February at the MKM Stadium, and it's definitely happening. We've got no reason, Bazza, to believe that them files and stuff are wrong. What an absolute kick in the teeth to all the people at Hull Kingston Rovers who have been doing great work behind the scenes to make this game happen, and not to allow them to have the official announcement and you know all their work they've done has now been sort of taken away because of somebody at England Rugby League, which is even more mind-boggling that this has happened in the first place, but that moment's been taken away. Rugby League's just got a good way of shooting itself in the foot, hasn't it?
100%, John. And I think that pretty much epitomises our game. The boys out on the field do their best to put on the best entertainment, but it seems to be people at the hierarchy who run the game can't seem to do the basics right. So if what is coming out is true, and there is truth in it, which again I'm not on Twitter or X or whatever it is, so I'll just take your word for it. Apologies for that, but yeah, if it is true, I'm gutted because the boys have grafted hard to earn the right to play in this World Cup Challenge, and it was down to all Kingston Rovers and the Brisbane Broncos to announce it in whatever way they wanted to, build up the hype to the game, and for it to come out the way it has, it's really, really disappointing. But I suppose it gives fans an extra few weeks to try and plan and get that day off work now.
What do you make it being played at the MKM Stadium, Bazza? I mean, purists, which includes me, I'd love to have seen it at Craven Park. I'd love to have seen, Brisbane there. The reality is a lot different, though, isn't it, in terms of how the club can commercialise, maximise, and capitalise on this opportunity. We're in a different world now. Rugby league in this country in full of money. So every opportunity the club have got to can take. But we've got a good record at the stadium, to be fair.
Yeah, we have. Don't get me wrong. I'm massively, massively grateful that we've got the opportunity to go up against, arguably the best in the world in Brisbane Broncos. So that's what dreams are made of. So yeah, I am grateful that we do have that opportunity. It has took the spark off it a little bit because I do believe it should have been at our place. Because because it'll be more of an intimidating atmosphere. You know, it'll give us the edge. Don't get me wrong, we have got a very, very good record across at the MKM, but I think traditionally it should have been at Craven Park for me. I'm gutted it's not, but we're still in it, so we still get a chance to showcase our game in front of all the Australians, and you know, get to see the likes of Paddy Carrigan and Reece Walsh come up against the likes of Arthur Morgan, Sam Luckley. You know what I mean? Our little humble boys coming up against these superstars. It's what dreams are made of. But I'm gutted that it's at the MKM. But at the end of the day, it's the SMC who run the Hull City Council's community stadium, which is free for all teams to use. So really, it's not Hull City's home. It's certainly not Hull FC's home. They rent the place. The stadium's there for all teams in Hull to use as and when needed. So that's all we're doing. We're just doing what Hull FC doing. We're renting it for a few days.
Yeah, and it'd been great to see Reece Walsh run in front of the East Stand, wouldn't it? It'd be,
Yeah.
But it's not to be. But what the Robins are really good at doing is putting on a real showcase event, and there's no doubt whatsoever. I mean, there's going to be a huge amount of work behind the scenes, because don't forget, as soon as this game finishes, we're off to Las Vegas. It's crazy, isn't it? You know, the behind the scenes work that must be going on is unbelievable. And you know what? When we talk about our club, we talk about teams. You know, we've got the team on the pitch who are delivering. You've got to really tip your hat to the people behind the scenes who are making these things happen. Not only make these things happen, but they do everything so right, everything to such a high standard, such a high level, such a great experience. And there's no doubt that, you know, when the World Club Challenge is at the MKM Stadium, it will feel like a Hull Kingston Rovers home game, because they just get things right. And you know, I can't pay more credit to the people like Paul Aiken, Craig Franklin, you know, all them people behind the scenes who are doing just a great, people we don't even know, names we don't even know, but they're just doing a great job. And what a culture they've created behind the club, behind the scenes at the club, to be able to showcase and deliver these events on such a regular scale now.
Yeah, and again, it's a lot of that what goes unnoticed, and that is within our club. Like, everybody's pulling in the same direction. Everybody is as one, from the staff in the shop to the board members to the players, and what the guys do to promote OKR, you know, with the little promos, the little sneak peeks of a share or a signing. You know, there's a lot of graft going in there, and just to build up the excitement and the hype about it. One thing I am pretty sure of is when we do play at their, well, I say at their place, at the council stadium, the council
Hull City
community
Stadium.
stadium. Yeah. I do believe it will look very much like it belongs to OKR, because it's going to be red and white, and I think it's going to be electric. And barring when Hull City play there, I think they're going to have a proper atmosphere where they're going to be singing from 1 to 8, 1 to minute 80. It's going to be loud. It won't be a library like it is at every other game there when there's a rugby game played there. So I think it'll be epic, and any Rovers fans watching this, I'd properly urge you to go out, buy as many stickers as you can. When you go to the World Club Challenge, stick them all over the seats. Let them know that we've been there. That's all I've got on that.
I was going to say, Baz, as well, the biggest irony will be is that they've had a grand final and a World Club Challenge played at their stadium, or their stadium in inverted commas, and they're not featured in either of them. So, yeah. Anyway, right, we move on. The Ashes, Baz, I mean, great hopes and expectations leading into it. It's not quite panned out the way we wanted it to do, of course. There's big conjecture over the team selection, squad selection. The latest game at the Everton Stadium, which by all accounts should be the home of rugby league now for England, and there's talk about the Magic Weekend being held there, grand final being held there. The result didn't go our way, did it, against Australia? 𝗀𝘅𝗏𝗏, of course. I mean, I think he had a great game against Australia. Really showcased his talent. Probably the biggest frustration is that Mikey Lewis only then got 10 minutes in terms of replacing 𝗀𝘅𝗏𝗏. I mean, there's been lots of positives about this Ashes series. Also, as well, Bazza, there's been a lot of negativity and unforced as well. I mean, the latest report was that Tom Johnston's playing injured. He's going to need surgery on the back of this Ashes series. Many people going, hang on, you've got 𝗀𝗃𝗃𝗁, who's just come from a grand final, fantastic finisher of tries. How's he not got in over somebody who's potentially injured? And as good as it's been this Ashes series in terms of seeing top level rugby league, seeing the Australians come, it's been a little bit frustrating as well.
Mate, it's been a nightmare. Like I can't wait for the Ashes to kick off and the hype, the build up to it, and everything was going good until Shaun Wane got involved. As daft as that sound when he named his 24-man squad for the Ashes, the disappointment, and then the arrogance of some of the stuff he was coming out with and what he said when he half-heartedly congratulated the KR boys over the grand final win through gritted teeth and couldn't wait to talk about Wigan. So I think that's took a lot of the gloss off it. It's took a lot of the shine off it. There's been so many disgruntled fans of the Ashes. It's been unreal. I'm gutted. I'm gutted because that man, I felt personally before it, I felt like he's setting Mikey Lewis up to failure because game one, Mikey wasn't playing in his natural position. We did not see the best version of Mikey, and it did man nothing. And then to bring him on as a hooker for 10 minutes, it's pointless. I love Mikey. Any KR fan who doesn't love Mikey, they need to give their head a wobble. But for me, if you're not going to play Mikey in his natural position, don't put him in the team. Mikey will play anywhere in that team. If Shaun Wane told him to play proper, he would, and that's no fault of Mikey. He's going to put that jersey on. But for me, if you're not going to play him in his natural position, where he can add that spark, what is needed to get around the Aussies, don't play him. He's playing a poor George Williams instead of Mikey Lewis. For me, 𝗀𝘅𝗏𝗏 has been the shining light in this Ashes. When he come on, he just completely just replicated. I felt like he upped his game a little bit to what we've been seeing this year. He was that good, and he's been that good, and you really see it when he's out there on the international stage. And in Test 2, he did a massive 68 minutes against the best in the world, and he held his own. He tackled hard. I believe 𝗀𝘅𝗏𝗏's stocks have risen tenfold after his 2 performances. I didn't know that about Tom Johnstone carrying an injury, but again, 𝗀𝗃𝗃𝗃, for me, we need change, and we need change fast. Otherwise it's going to be dampened going into the World Cup. People aren't going to have that excitement. They aren't going to be bothered about the country as much as there should be. If Shaun Wane's in there and he's picking his side with credits in the bank, it just takes the gloss off it, and people's heads are down before a ball's kicked. So there needs to be massive changes within the national squad, and Mikey needs to be Mikey. It should be Harry Smith, Mikey Lewis. Let Mikey play his game. Let Harry Smith stay around the team, and the outcome may be different. Morgan Knowles has been outstanding. Matty Lees, he's held his own. Mike McMeekin's held his own. We've been a bit weak at fullback, but I was gutted, mate. You're right. It was hope, and as soon as the whistle blow, I was behind the boys no matter what. But it was just a really frustrating watch. Really frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, George Williams in particular. Don't forget, he's got 1 more year at Warrington, then he's going to the NRL. He's got a contract with the Dolphins. So,
Don't know.
I mean, 𝗀𝘅𝗏𝗏𝗏, I do think if you follow the trajectory of Josh Hodgson, how he sort of progressed under Robins, very, very different circumstances. 𝗀𝘅𝗏𝗏𝗏 really took the game to Australia. You know what? He's absolutely fearless. So you look at the size of him and you think, he is a big player, not just his stature, but what he does. The one thing that only frustrates me about Jeslet, and I've seen him at Rovers, is some of his passes from hooker or up here, and sometimes you need to be, but they're the little things, and it was absolutely an absolute privilege to see two Kingston Rovers players out on the pitch. I think they should have been free. I do think they should have been free. I think Joe Burgess. I think 𝗪𝗂𝗓𝗏 actually should have been in that side as well. When you look at what's been served up so far, but hey, look, it's great to see. You know what? If we peel it away, it's great to see Test series rugby in England. We've got the World Cup to come. What's frustrating is between now and the World Cup, there's nothing penciled in. There's no games. So in
No,
theory, we're going to go from an Ashes series to a World Cup, and that's
it,
not good enough. There needs to
uh,
be something in between there, because
yeah.
if we're gonna challenge at the World Cup as England, bear in mind, even in the lead up to this Ashes series, they didn't even train. They had a couple of get-togethers. You can't go into an Ashes series and expect to be at your best if you're not going to at least play a warm-up game, have training camps. It's basics, isn't it? So I think the expectations have been high on this England side, quite rightly, because them expectations come from hope, and we want, but
Well,
fundamentally the foundations aren't being put in place to help them achieve them results.
well, to be fair, we did well against Samoa, but Samoa have massively improved. I don't think we'd get close to Samoa after watching them in the Pacific Nations. But in 23 against Tonga, he played for the first two tests of that, Mikey and Harry Smith in the halves. Mikey got man of the match. Mikey was electric, and we was a real attacking threat, and that's what I mean, where I feel like Mikey's wings have been clipped and he can't play his game. Now, Harry Smith and Mikey Lewis, that's our future going forward. They need to play together as much as possible, and we need to get as many training sessions together and a couple of friendlies. Bring back the exiles or whatever for a mid-season break, just to get the boys together, playing together. I fear for us going into that World Cup. One, if Sean Wayne's in charge, and two, like you've just alluded to, if we've got no game time, it's quite frightening. But I did notice a second ago you mentioned 𝗪𝗂𝗓𝗏. I don't know if you've heard that, but on his story the other day on Insta, his arm was in a sling. So
I saw that. Yeah, do you know
I
what,
hope
mate?
he's
I've
all
got.
right,
Yeah, so he's had surgery on something, hasn't
hasn't
he?
he?
Yeah,
Nah, as long as he's all right, you know what I mean. He
yeah.
hadn't had a few too many and snapped his arm getting wankered.
No, do you know what? I think this is what we forget, and it's a bit like I mentioned Tom Johnson for England. Players, do you know what? Credit to them, because they're absolute. And we forget sometimes when we're still on the terrace and we're shouting, "Do this, do that." Why are you not doing that? You forget actually how many of these players are absolutely busted, and they're
Yeah.
still able to go out there and perform to such a high level. And the fact that these players were able to perform and put off major surgery, for example, you know, 𝗪𝗂𝗓𝗏, he might have been carrying an injury for the past 6 months that
Mm,
we don't know about, but he's been able to get through it with painkillers, and not only get through it, perform to such a high level. Um, you know, we do need to sometimes take a step back and just appreciate what absolute awesome athletes these people are. To go out there, get knocked about, and still be able to come up with the athleticism and the skill that they come up with on a week to week basis. So yeah, there's always that downtime, isn't there? And I always find it really interesting about how these sometimes surgery and that get is able to be put off, but it's really important. Pre-season for the Robins is going to be interesting. It Bazza. We've already mentioned about we've got players going back, because there's a couple of other players who are still playing international rugby league as well. We've seen Atamorg. He played for France. They beat
mm,
Jamaica 36-0, which confirmed their place in the World Cup next year. And then, of course, we've seen, glorious scenes, absolutely glorious. Reece Martin down in Papua New Guinea, an absolute hero's welcome that he received. They lifted the Pacific Bowl. They beat Fiji 50 points to 18. I think at half time, it was 30 points 0 up. Reece Martin scored 22 points, 9 kicks, 1 try. He's in for a long, he's had a long season. Obviously, Cahill, he had injuries throughout the course of the season. Interesting to see what's going to happen with him now in terms of when he comes back. We've also seen, if anyone's a keen follower of Instagram, a number of players are in Thailand, Australia, all over the world. It's going to be interesting, isn't it, Bazza, about what happens at pre-season?
Don't forget Tyrone. He's across with the Samoan squad as well, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. You're right.
The boys are doing some travelling, but I tell you what, them boys have earned it. If they want to go spend 3 weeks in Thailand or wherever it is, whatever part of the world, them boys have earned it this year, and good for them. You know what I mean? Let the bodies rest up, relax, and just again, they've earned it.
I did feel sorry though for Dean Hadley and James Batchelor
in Asda. Ollie Gildart.
Molly Gildart opening the new Asda on, what was it, in Anlaby? Yeah. I mean, if you look at the picture, don't get me wrong, they've put a smile on, but I'm sure it's not the first place. But fair credit to them. Asda, they donated £3,000 to the 𝗀𝗂𝗃𝗏 Foundation on the back of it. So fair play to them and them players. There's probably, because of where they live, it's probably on the doorstep anyway.
Well, but it surmises us as a club, innit? We're a family club, we're a community club, and we do things like that for the community. So fair play to them for giving up the time to do that.
Yeah, and very quickly before we go on to question time, Bazza, lots of talk at the moment around the NRL and their investment in Super League and their interest around Super League. They've had talks. There's a talk. Peter Vlanders, he talks a good game. Don't get me wrong. He's a great master of the media, isn't he, in terms of releasing certain snippets. Super League clubs, obviously, they're sort of a little bit protective. Some clubs are really interested in what the NRL have got to offer. Fundamentally, something major needs to change, doesn't it? Because Super League's not really going to go anywhere unless we get big money investment, a big TV deal, major change off the field. And I can't see how it happens without the NRL getting involved.
I really hope it happens, and the noise is getting louder, and it needs to, because I think as a sport in this country, I don't think we've stood still. I think we've gone backwards slightly in certain areas. So things do need to change, and with that change, we'll stop another scenario of like what happened to Salford. So I think it can be only good for the game, because the way they talk the game up, the Australians, and the way they promote the game, it's second to none. And if rumours are true that they're on about investing like £800,000 per club every year, that's going to take the income for the clubs with the TV deal to something like 2.1 million, per club per year. So that's going to be massive, and it'll help with our grassroots as well. I hope it comes in. I really, really do hope it comes in. It'll be the best thing that's happened, to the game in a lot of years.
No, the best thing to happen to the game, Bazza, was Robins winning the treble. That was the best thing to happen to rugby league in this country.
That was the best thing for 𝗀𝗃𝗏, absolutely.
Yeah, right. Let's finish with question time. We've got quite a few questions to go through. Jules Rodders, I tell you what a great supporter of the Robin Pod you are. She says, what should the target be for next year? World Cup Club Challenge, Vegas win, then defend the treble. Would you lose a League Leaders Shield to win another grand final? What a wonderful situation to be in as a club.
Wow.
I suppose as supporters, and this is what we're talking about. So we're talking about increased season ticket sales, expectations getting higher. We've won the treble. There's got to be a realism about what this side can do next year. And it's an interesting one, Baz. What are your expectations for next year?
I'd like us to win some form of silverware. what you got to remember when I can't remember that question, what she just said fully, but you know, what
But
would you
what,
do?
I suppose, just pin it down to what are your expectations for
Uh,
next year?
I'd like to think we'd do the Challenge Cup, and you know, I'd like to think we'd give Brisbane a game, you know, on the world stage. And do you know what? A victory in Vegas, you know, because literally the World Club and Vegas were showcasing 𝗀𝗂𝗃𝗏 to the world. So, you know, if we can take one of them to happy days, and if we can grab a little trophy across the way of the season, then I'm happy.
Yeah. Adam Wadforth on Facebook, he says, do you think it's turned out to be a blessing in disguise? Only 3 Rovers players were in the England squad, seen as one so far hasn't played, and another one played that weekend for only 10 minutes and out of position, despite being arguably the star player in the squad. Even the Aussie press was surprised at the lack of involvement. If you take off your England rugby league spectacles and you go to Rovers tinted spectacles, you'd probably say the less Rovers players involved in the England squad, the better, because it means the rested, they've got a better chance going to pre-season. You know, 𝗀𝗽𝗲𝗁 potentially, if he don't play on Saturday, he spent 3 weeks with England for what? When he
No,
could have been rested on holiday, and you know what I mean. So, you know, there's a serious point to that, isn't there? That actually the fact that, for instance, Elliot Minchella, Dean Hadley, for example, James Batchelor haven't been selected, it's maybe a good thing for the Robins.
it is a good thing, but again, it's also a good thing for the boys, you know, for pride, you know, pulling on the jersey for England and coming up against the best in the world. So they'll have a better understanding of like where they're at as a player. So I think it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. It's great for us. It's just gutting for the boys who's missing out. And I'm massively filthy and gutted for Mikey because again, I said it earlier, I feel like his wings have been clipped. So he's not in his position. But as long as they enjoy themselves and come back injury free, then yeah, I'm happy with that.
Yeah, Gary Lee, of course, who's on the Robin Pod regularly, says, "When are the naysayers?" You know, you can tell he's from down south, can't you? When are the naysayers going to start believing in Willie and his tactics? What does he have to do to convince everyone that he's a great coach?
Oh, I'm presuming Gary's on about people from outside of 𝗀𝗃𝗏𝗏 doubting Willie. I'm
Yeah.
presuming.
Well, all I'll say is, like, in answer to that, there's a reason he's the assistant head coach of Australia right now.
Yeah, 100%, and he's probably one of the most talked about coaches down in the NRL. When a position comes available, I think he's going to be the top of every club's list, from West Tigers to the Melbourne Storm. You know, you'll name it. Every club's going to want him at some point, and it's
Yeah,
his.
do you know what, Bazza? What I'm surprised about as well, and I may be wrong, but when I've watched the BBC coverage of the Ashes series so far, I don't think they've mentioned once that the Super League treble-winning coach is Australia's assistant coach. Honestly, I don't. I may be wrong. Comment people, if someone's seen it, comment in the comment section or whatever. I don't think
But
I've seen it
I
even
can
mentioned.
assure you, I watched Test 1 on the BBC, did my nutting. I watched Test 2 on my notifier stick on Fox with 𝗁𝗂𝗏𝗂, and they've mentioned Willie Peters a lot. And yeah, the
I don't think
Aussies
they have in
definitely
our
got.
country. I don't think, which is it. It's a story, isn't it? You've got the Super League, you know, going up against Mikey Lewis, Jez Litton, you know, and I
Yeah,
don't think it's been meant. I don't even think the pundits, so when they've had
James Graham.
Peacock, Wilkin, and it's even been mentioned. So correct me if I'm wrong, please do, because but I'm sure I've not heard anything about it. Um, what we got? What other questions we got? Michael Matthews, something we mentioned. Bazza, I think we'll get a World Cup club challenge and Vegas hangover during next season. I mean, I'll certainly get a Vegas hangover, that's for sure. I don't know how long that will last, but How do we minimise the effects, especially with the cup defence straddling the two fixtures, rotating the squad more depending on the I word? I don't know that, but we are going to have a problem because also I'm sure if we're going to go like we did last season and Rovers enter the challenge, well, not Rovers enter, Rovers play their Challenge Cup fixture will be before the World Cup Challenge. I think
Yeah.
if we go on last season, what happened? I mean, albeit we played York and we put them to bed, but it is still a competitive game. I do think we're going to struggle to compete on three fronts next season.
Yeah, I think we are going to come up short somewhere, but I think what Willie Peters is aiming for next year is like the transition, like if a player's out, another player comes in seamlessly, and I think this is where we're going to see the likes of Jack Charles and whatnot, because it will be filling in for Mikey in like that first round of the Challenge Cup. So yeah, it's going to be tricky, but I think the way Willie's working towards is we're going to have like a seamless transition. Like whoever drops out, the next man up. We're not going to see too much of a difference. So yeah, I'm comfortable that we'll still be able to do stuff, but I just don't know. I don't think we'll be able to replicate what we have done.
No, and the thing is, Bazza, as well, right? Already, Willie Peters will know his plan for next season
Yeah,
because he's so meticulous in what he does. He's so
yeah.
intense. The club
But
they won't get to pre-season and go, right, what should we do? He will already know based on who he signed,
and
who's coming in.
do you know what's going under the radar a lot, John? Who's he working with right now? Kevin Walters. He's working with the best players in the world. Willie Peters is going to come back to Old Kingston Rovers with fresh ideas himself from being around the Australians, a new approach, a different sort of standard to meet. So not only are we going to see like a better version of players and standards, we're actually going to see that in our coach because of what he's been working with in the off season. So I'm not too worried. I think we're going to see another really good OKR in 26.
I mean, he needs a break though as well, doesn't he? I
Yeah,
mean, look,
he loves
if
it,
you look
doesn't
at
he?
it, I think before I think he admitted, didn't he, that before he got approached to be the Australia assistant coach, he'd already booked a holiday to Bali
Bowling.
with family, and he's had to cancel that. He needs to have a break as well to come back refreshed, and because you can't go from a treble winning season, an Ashes series, then go straight back into pre-season, World Cup Challenge, Las Vegas, League Leaders Shield assault, Challenge Cup, Grand. Like as a head coach, he needs to take time to take stock of what he's done and have a break from rugby league. And we all wish him that he does that. The calendar's so tight, though, isn't it?
It's a nightmare, but I reckon. Well, Willie Peters always seems to make time for his family, so let's just hope it. He might not be going to Bali, he might be going to Blackpool, but as long as he has a couple of weeks off with his family, you know what I mean, and chills out for a bit, that's all that we
Yeah.
can hope for.
Yeah, Bali or Blackpool. I know which one I'd be choosing.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't involve a 12-hour flight. Bazza, it's been an absolute privilege. The next Robin pod is going to be probably in a few weeks as things happen. Don't forget as well, I think play contracts run up to the 1st of November. The run like November to November. So I expect to see more announcements about new signings and possibly departures. So the next Robin pod will be probably in a couple of months. Bazza, I hope you're having a great time in your penthouse lorry. And that
Loving
brings us to the end of another Robin pod. Huge thank you to everyone who submitted questions for question time. An even bigger thank you to everyone who's tuned in for this week's Robin pod special. If you haven't done so already, please leave your comments down below in the comment section. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the Robin Pod YouTube channel. And I'm sure you don't mind me reminding you, but Hull Kingston Rovers really are treble winners. So for now, live, love, and laugh and be happy. And if you listen to the Robin Pod at the start, we're going to finish with that great song that Mark Newman has produced. It's a great song and it deserves another playing.
We won the cup, we ruled the league. In red and white, we do believe. A grand final win, now all you Robins cheer. Let's celebrate Rovers' greatest. Throughout the years, whatever the game, the Red Army's passion is always the same. Decades past, now we rise anew. Rovers fans, this song is for you. Every loss, through every cheer, it led us to our golden year. We beat the Wire in Wembley rain. Tom Davies try helped ease the pain. We topped the league, we would not fall. The mighty Robins above them all. An Old Trafford clash with Wigan's might. We burned the sky with red that night. 24-6, the game was done. History made the treble won. 40 years of hopes and tears washed away by treble winning cheers. We won the cup, we ruled the league. In red and white, we do believe. A grand final win to complete the three. The greatest year in Rovers history. Celebrate the moment, honor the past. Far off dreams become memories that last. So now we build, the future's bright. For the treble winning legends in the red and white. We won the cup, we ruled the league. In red and white, we do believe. A grand